This may look like a slippery slope fallacy.
Aw, dude, don't start off by saying it may look like a slippery slope fallacy. Don't tell me what to look for. You still haven't even made a case yet.
Until you consider the fact that homosexual feelings led to a desire for marital recognition, one inconsistent with the union of a man and a woman. So, why can marriage only be a man and a woman?
You should take a look at all conceptions of marriage around the world throughout all times and all cultures, including the differing ideas in the Bible of what it is, before you state that marriage is only between one man and one woman.
Because the principle behind it is procreation. None of us got here by a woman and a woman, or multiple fathers and mothers, or by an adult and a child, or by a human with an animal.
Do you take this donkey to be your lawfully wedded wife? I'm just kidding. Continue.
Only by one mother and father. Therefore, marriage is instituted for the good of the family. Mother and father are entrusted with our future generations of humanity. Naturally, they are the best for the job because the deepest sense of responsibility one can have comes from the commitment to make a personal decision to have a child.
Yep, I'm pretty sure I'm here because my parents decided the kitchen floor was as good a place as any to have sex. However, it was unplanned sex and not for procreation. I was the result.
And because the child is a piece of them, parents have a greater sense of protectiveness for their well-being than anything else.
You know, you're right. I have a daughter, and even though her mother and I are divorced, I'm still actively involved in her life. This is evolution at its best.
By marriage, the child gets a critical sense of the male-female dynamic, the core of humanity.
I see you want to enforce stereotypical gender roles on children. Is aught fallacy.
By marriage, parents officially commit to the new human they have created. And by marriage, families become genetically bound by two bodies who literally become one flesh.
They do not literally become one flesh. Metaphorically, maybe, but not literally.
These are the strongest of bonds. Homosexual encroachment upon marriage is destructive because it annuls the necessary core principle of marriage, family.
Look at the Moswu tribes of China. That should give you an understanding that it is very possible for this core principle to be fallacious. It not only advocates that gender roles can be reversed, but that marriage can be completely useless as far as child rearing goes. Link in the description.
It's a house without people, a hive without honey, a hollow shell. There's no more point to it because there becomes no difference between marrying and having sex while living together.
Couples without children? Well, they got married to be selfish and have sex while living together, not because they love each other or anything.
Consequently, any children involved will never have the bonds of family blood and never know the difference between a true family and a group of friends.
Sorry to the adopted son that I raised since you were 3, but we're not real family because some dude says so.
Just so the point hits home, consider how two gay men are supposed to console their adoptive daughter when the first menstruation occurs.
You gotta be kidding me. I wonder how you'd deal with it if you had a daughter and your wife was dead. What would you do then? I know what I'd do. I'd look to my friends and family for support. I may even bring her to a female physician. Duh.
In a traditional family, a mother can empathize, but never in any other situation. Not with two men, a polygamy of men, a bestiality marriage, a pedophiliac marriage, nothing but true marriage.
You do understand the meaning of consent, right? I hope so.
Yes, there are orphans in the world, and it's unfortunate. But homosexual adoption is not the answer. It is an excuse, and like every counterfeit to true marriage, it crumbles under scrutiny.
You mean counterfeit to your specific narrow idea of marriage.
The male-female dynamic is necessary for the survival of humanity. The man and the woman complement each other in every way, anatomically and physiologically.
You've obviously never been married, have you? Simply because the parts go together doesn't mean it will work.
Emotionally and psychologically.
Men and women may have the same goals as far as procreation goes, but their particular psychology and how they obtain that goal are very different, and sometimes at odds with each other.
Down to the very tones of our voices. We are built for each other.
Also, did you say built? You're not gonna deny evolution, are you?
This is fundamental common sense, on par with the fact that we need to eat to live and that the earth is spherical. This is not open for debate.
Yes, it is. David Buss, Steven Pinker, Richard Dawkins, Christopher Ryan, Susan Blackmore, Matt Ridley, and I disagree with you. But I'm sure after looking at your comments sections in multiple videos, you are a most scholarly person who has read all of those people.
Therefore, any attempt to contradict this basic fact of life, that men and women need each other, is a deliberate lie. And like all lies, it is destructive. Homosexuality propagates that men and women can replace each other permanently. So, how is this sexist? Well, sexism is defined as prejudice or discrimination based on sex. Homosexuality is an attraction between members of the same sex. By definition then, homosexuals prefer the looks, emotional expressions, and mind workings of their own sex to the other. It is favoritist.
Poisoning the well, an ad hominem, a loaded claim, and a slippery slope fallacy that only bisexuals would be able to escape. Even if it were sexist, which it's not, being that exclusively homosexual or heterosexual people have no choice in the matter, that would make sexism bad, not homosexuality.
Consider the number of lesbians who were in the 1970s feminist movement and continue to be today, where men are the enemy and women are not just equal, but superior.
So they're all guilty by association, huh? No, they were fighting for equality. And as we all know, it totally sucks when people want equality.
Now, you may know homosexual people with friends of the opposite sex, as do I. A YouTube user named Jack Teagan once pointed this out to me, expressing that people need people. I don't argue the obvious, but I do respond that homosexuality is of no help to these friendships.
And within those friendships, there were values of love and intimacy that didn't involve sexual attraction. Seriously, who would ask you to have sex with another man just to prove that you weren't sexist? I'm pretty sure that you would say you don't have to do something you don't want to do just to prove something.
Rather, homosexuals may tolerate friendship with the opposite sex in spite of their inherent sexism.
I know this is personal, but I don't tolerate women. I treat them with respect. In fact, they are in some cases closer to me than their own boyfriends, mainly because they see me as non-threatening. There is value there.
Viewing them as people so they don't have to see a man or a woman. There is just no regard for our natural intrinsic differences. This last point somewhat ties into the previous one, with the added argument that we are created beings. Next to fulfilled biblical prophecy,
I'm not touching it.
The complementary male and female are perhaps the strongest evidences of intelligent design.
No, they aren't. They're examples of animal dimorphism. Pretty hackneyed if you ask me. Men with foreskins and nipples and women with small birth canals.
Nature, therefore, means following along with the design as the creator intended, making heterosexuality natural and homosexuality unnatural.
You know, aside from your ignorance pertaining to natural selection and sexual selection, what you've just made is the naturalistic fallacy, also known as the is-ought fallacy, meaning that you assume that because something is the way it is, that is the way it ought to remain. You've actually done this twice so far. It's in the marriage argument, and now here. This is also begging the question. You're asserting that we are created, thus implying a creator, and then assuming your conclusions from there.
This is further reinforced by the fact that the former results in life, and the latter in death. But let's explain with a metaphor. Consider an electrical outlet. By design, it is meant to power the toaster or vacuum cleaner when you plug them in. You could also jam a fork in the socket, but because that isn't the intended purpose, you'll just get electrocuted for being a moron. Likewise, gays experience far worse for sticking something into something else. On a different level, endorsing homosexuality is bad because it defies the creator's will.
So what?
So what, some may ask? So everything.
Everything? Show me the money, man. So far you've said this. Something that occurs naturally within human populations and animal populations, and trust me, we are animals, is distasteful to me and my God because occasionally they engage in sexual acts which are not exclusive to them, but are somehow more harmful when I see fit to point it out. I use statistics to support said arguments when it serves me, but when that same science disagrees with me, I idly cast it aside. I use cherry-picked ones especially because they're my favorite, like the one about lesbians, which doesn't even support me. I draw conclusions from said statistics that are not in literature which I said I read, but probably didn't.
The creator is the big picture in all matters, and the final say on what's right and wrong.
I disagree. Whatever your God has to say about it, well, that's between you and him. Telling others what they should do based on your religion is a very trite suggestion, if they don't believe.
Once the creator's ultimate authority is not recognized, morals no longer have weight, and all is permitted.
Oh, come on. Are you a friend of God rules?
Fulfilling lust is fine in the face of death, psychological abuse, a sexist mindset, etc. And who is anyone to say otherwise?
Me. I do.
Same goes for rape, cannibalism, enslavement, whatever pushes your buttons.
Who's endorsing that shit? This is another slippery slope fallacy.
Life has no more purpose, for if there is no creator, what will it matter what you did years from now when all life in this universe ceases to exist?
The argument from consequences. Need I explain more?
Anyway, that's my 5 cents on the matter. Take it to the bank and give me a response, because I'm expecting some high interest on return. Constructive comments only, please.
And guess what, guys? After all that shit, there's still another video. Click the link on the left to go to the Armored Skeptics video. Click the link on the right to subscribe to Deconverted Man. Because he's fucking awesome.